What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, ES, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar approaching tomorrow, what's happening with some big news involving Tesla, what you should be watching for as we approach tomorrow when I give you guys my price prediction. But before I break into details information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a few things. I'm personally not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, this benefits the entire community as a whole. So, anyways, Tesla was in a very, very interesting place today. We got some AI hype, not to mention a lot of excitement involving their mega pack expansion plans in Australia, and a bunch of other things that came out that helped the whole market push, which gave Tesla an extra boost. Tesla was up 6.34% for the day, breaking past resistance, and we're looking very, very nice right now. We had a nice accumulation, and we have a lot more bullish potential, but we're going to be testing some tough resistance right now, in my personal opinion, before we get some kind of break. So I'll be watching to see what kind of reaction we get. And overall, although Tesla looks bullish, that reaction will determine if we continue higher or not. So I will talk more about the resistance level in just a couple of minutes. I first want to talk about the markets and Tesla. So some good news came out. There was some AI enthusiasm that came out involving the Optimus robot and the Dojo supercomputer, which is very, very great news. We got some good insights from Truist Securities analyst William Stein and also other analysts out there. So we're starting to see a lot of hype involving the robotaxi and other things like that. And I think that with the robotaxi event coming out in less than 2 months, the hype that's starting to build is looking pretty nice. There's also this big news right over here about how Tesla's Megapack site in Queensland, Australia, is beginning its expansion plans. That's great news for them as well, which is going to help improve the sources of energy around the area, help create a lot more jobs, and once again give Tesla a bigger edge for their Megapacks in the area. So I think that's good news for them, in my personal opinion. It's going to once again deliver Queensland its super grid, which is very, very good for reliable power and a bunch of things like that. So great news for Tesla. I think it's very awesome to see this happen, and they're making a lot more plans for them to continue to improve the energy sources around the area there. So good pieces of news came out, not to mention retail sales and such as part of why Tesla pumped. We also saw SPY break past some key resistance and continue to push. Now, some stocks were forming these rising wedges, but they ended up just not playing out. And as a result, the market is just remaining bullish. So I will talk more about that in just a minute. Let's talk about this though. Why did the market pump so hard? I just want to mention that we had some big news. We had initial jobless claims below expectations. This is a good sign, at least for the markets, that the labor market improved a little bit, especially after that bad report that came out about a week and a half ago. So, initial jobless claims was very, very low at 227,000, well below expectations. And then we also ended up getting some big news that came out involving retail sales. This was above expectations, so not bad whatsoever. And besides that, there wasn't really anything else that was too significant. For tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 30 minutes after the market opens, expect some volatility since we have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report with the 5-year inflationary expectations. So look for volatility tomorrow at 10 a.m. And besides that, there's not a whole lot else that's coming out. For SPY, I just want to call out that for tomorrow, we have over 780,000 calls expiring, and we have over 2.4 million of these puts expiring. We have 536 is max pain, with 3.05 being the puts to call ratio. And overall, that's very, very interesting in my personal opinion, because this gives us more potential for market maker manipulation, and this could lead to either more upside or even just some consolidation in the markets, in my opinion. Those are the two most likely possibilities. Now, we have a 26% probability of us getting a 50 basis point cut from the Fed, and a 74% chance the Fed gives us a cut of 25 basis points. That has been a big adjustment after CPI came out. The market is still optimistic nonetheless. That's why we're pumping. I also want to call out that when it comes to earnings, we just had Walmart announce their earnings alongside a few others. Walmart was the biggest one from today. And then for tomorrow, we just have minor ones like Flowers Foods. Very, very minor ones for tomorrow. But when it comes to Walmart, this was very important. They beat on their earnings. They had very, very good looking guidances. And that was good news in my personal opinion. So they raised their forecast once again as their revenue grew 5%. They're also expecting sales to rise by 3.75 to 4.75% for the full year. That's above expectations. And on top of this, we had some good earnings, a beat on EPS at 67 cents adjusted, and revenue at $169 billion above expectations. The last thing I just want to address is this news right here. There's been so much talk about how Iran may launch this retaliation attack against Israel. Once again, it's making headlines again. I'm not seeing this so far. If this were to happen, yes, it would affect the markets, but so far there hasn't been, an attack. And if it doesn't happen, at least if it continues to not happen for the next few days, next few weeks, the market will continue to climb. So just remember this news in the back of your mind. But so far there hasn't been an attack, and so far it's been all talk. The threats are just all talk. Hopefully it remains that way. Nothing happens. So we'll see. So I just want to kind of just move forward from that and just focus on the charts now. So as far as Tesla goes, we're getting some decent volume overall. Nice volume today, and we're looking more bullish. Now, if we break past 215, Tesla will be going all the way up to at least 220 to 222. If we fail and we end up dipping back down, make sure you watch 212 as our first support. If that fails us, we're going back down to 210, then eventually 208. Watch those supports and that resistance. From a technical standpoint, we do look more bullish when we favor upside, but this depends on what kind of reaction we get at this 215 area. This is also going to be previous. This zone is going to be previous support becoming resistance, but from a technical standpoint, Tesla looks more bullish and it favors trying to break that for a move all the way up towards like 220. So I think Tesla looks a bit more bullish in my personal opinion. Excuse me. For SPY, we're looking more bullish. I think the full measure move takes us up to about 554 to 555, so a little bit more upside. If we break this, we're going to see a bigger squeeze, but if we don't, we're going to consolidate most likely. So we'll see which way we end up going. Just note that if we're bearish, watch 552 as support. If that fails us, we're going back down to 550, if not 549.5. If we're bullish, you want to see us try to break past 555. If that breaks, we're going back up to 558, then eventually 560. From a technical standpoint, SPY looks more bullish. It's favoring upside. I think it's going to try to push higher towards at least 555. And we'll see if this breaks or not. If we do break this, we will continue to squeeze. There is a possibility of us continuing to squeeze because of how many puts are expiring. But just to be safe, watch for confirmation. So confirmation is going to be key for tomorrow. If we hold above 555, look for a bigger push. If we fail to do so, we're just going to consolidate around 555, in my opinion. So we'll see which way we go. But I think we're going to push a little bit higher for SPY, closer to 555, before we see some kind of big reaction. That's why there's going to be a big test tomorrow. When looking at ES, it favors more upside. If we were to hypothetically lose 55.50, look for a dip to 55.30. And if we continue to break out, we're going to be looking for this imbalance fill towards 5600. There's a good chance we're going to be testing that, and we'll see if we reject or not. But this does favor upside for 5600, and we'll see if this breaks or not. But look for a little bit more upside. For SPX, if we continue to push, we're going to be looking for 55.50. Break that, and 55.60 is likely coming. And then that's going to depend on a lot of factors whether we break this or not. If we break that, there's going to be a big push for 5600. So watch this 55.50 to 55.60 area. If you break that, 5600 is coming. If you reject, look for 55.50 as key support. If that breaks, 55.30 as key support. If that breaks, we're coming all the way down to 5500. This looks more bullish and favors at least 55.60, and we'll see if that breaks or not on SPX. So I see a little bit more momentum building, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. Nvidia looks very bullish right now. We broke past 121.5. Our next target is going to be with this 124 area. This is where we saw a rejection on Nvidia historically, so we might see some consolidation for some time around 124. But if you break that, we're going up to fill the gap towards 126. If you reject, we're going to be coming back down. So make sure you watch 120 as key support, then 117. I think that we look more bullish, and we are favoring 124. And we'll see if Nvidia breaks that. So look for a push tomorrow to 124, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For Bitcoin, this has a double top, not looking that great, but we're looking at support at 56,000. If that breaks, we're going down to 54,800. If that holds, look for 58,000 as resistance. We could push a little bit higher than consolidate, so watch and see if that ends up being the case or not. For other factors out there, I just want to call out NQ. NQ is looking more bullish, trying to break these highs. Look at the high up here. I think it's going to go a little higher. Look at the high around this 19,700 area, 19,700 flat. If that breaks, we could get very close to 20,000 to fill this gap. If we fail at 19,700, we could be tipping back down to 19,500, and a dip below that takes us down to 19,300 and below. But overall, from a technical standpoint, we look very bullish. We're favoring upside, and there's a good chance this is going to likely try to continue. So I think we look quite good on NQ. There's a good chance we try to continue for at least 19,700, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. The QQQ is looking more bullish. We're at 475 right now as resistance. We look really bullish right now. There's no sign of us breaking, but we're at tough resistance right now. If we break 475, we're going to be pushing all the way up to 477.5, then 480. And if we reject, we're going to be looking for 472.5 as support, followed by 470. This chart is favoring that it wants to break 475. It still looks bullish to me, but watch for confirmation. This is a tough resistance. We have previous support there. We got a rejection here in the past. Can we break 475? We'll just have to wait and see, but it does have potential. It looks more bullish from a technical standpoint, so it does favor breaking it. For Apple, if we break past 225, we're going to be looking for basically 227.5. And if we reject here, we're looking for 222.5 as support. We're favoring 227.5 and eventually 230. In my personal opinion, it's still looking very bullish. There's no sign of Apple rejecting, so it's still favoring the upside, but watch 225 as key support just to be safe. For Palantir, we have a bullish wedge-like structure that's starting to develop here. This would take us all the way up to about 32.5 as a potential target. If we lose 31, though, look for 30.5 as support, very close to our 20 EMA. But this chart's making higher highs and higher lows, and it's favoring 32.5. For Supermicro, we got to try to break past 640. If that breaks, we're easily going up to 660 all over again. So look at 640's resistance. We might touch that tomorrow. If we reject, look at 620's key support. If that fails, we're going back down to 600. This chart is favoring 640 and then maybe even higher. Rivian, on the other hand, is favoring downsides so far because it's continuing to be very weak. We have a downtrend that's being respected with this bearish wedge. We might continue to dip towards 3.3 and just consolidate. And if we end up losing that support, we're dipping down to 12.5. But if we break past 4.37, yes, we will try to bounce back up to 15. So watch those levels, but just know we're on a bit of a downtrend. We're going to likely consolidate, get very tight right here, and then we might see a dip back down towards that 12 area. For SoFi, we're looking at 6.92 as resistance. If we break this thing is going to be pushing all the way up towards at least 7 plus. If we reject here, we're coming back down to 6.7. This chart is favoring 7 plus in my personal opinion. For the IWM Russell 2000, we look more bullish as long as we're above 212. We favor 215 and then eventually the gap fill for 216.5. But if we lose 212, look for 209 to be tested. This chart is favoring. It wants to go up towards at least 215. So we look bullish on the IWM. For AMD, we look more bullish. If we were to hypothetically lose support at 146, I think we could be dipping back down towards 142. And if we hold above 147, I'm going to be looking for a push for 150 plus, especially 151, which is where we have our 200 EMA. So I think this is favoring upside for at least 150. That looks more favorable for AMD, especially as Nvidia is pumping. For ARM, if we were to hypothetically lose, 128, I'm going to be looking for 125 or 50 EMA. If we continue to push here, our next target is going to be all the way up here towards 134. This chart, in my opinion, is favoring upside for 134. And I think that if we break that, we could even go higher towards like 138. So I think we look bullish. 134 looks more favorable in my personal opinion. Coinbase is stuck in the middle. It's in a range right now. It's been stuck in this range for a couple of days. If we break 203, look for 208. And if we lose 196, we're going to be dipping down towards 190 flat. We're in the middle going back and forth and back and forth. So we'll see if this rebounds a little bit. We might try to retest 201, but it's just consolidating in my opinion. So watch which way we break. Looking at Amazon, this looks more bullish. Now, if we hypothetically end up losing 177, we're going to be dipping back down to 175. And if we keep holding above 177, our next target is 180. My gut is telling me this is going to 180. It wants to test this 200 EMA. This looks bullish as there's no sign of weakness or a rejection. So it looks bullish. Meta's looking more bullish, but look at 538 as key resistance. If that breaks, look for 544. If that rejects, we're going back down to 534. We favor upside for 544 if we break 538 for confirmation. So watch and see if it breaks. Microsoft looks more bullish. If we hold above 420, we're going up towards 426. If we lose 420, we're going to be dipping back down towards 414. We favor 426, in my personal opinion. Google's looking pretty good. Look at resistance around 163.5. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for a nice push for 165. And if this rejects, we'll be dipping back down towards 161.8. But this is favoring upside, in my personal opinion, for 164. For GameStop, we're on a bit of an uptrend. If we manage to break past 22.8, I think we're going up towards 23.2. And if we end up losing 22 flat, we'll be dipping. So I think we favor upside. For AMC, we're kind of consolidating right now. I want to see it break past 5.2 to turn back up to about 5.3, but it's not really doing much. It's just consolidating. DJT needs to break past 24.5 to turn back up. Otherwise, it's just going to consolidate in this 24 area. So I think it's just going to consolidate as well, not really seeing much. The VIX looks bearish because the market is bullish. There's no sign of this bouncing. Even this like falling wedge is failing. So I think that the VIX is going to continue to downtrend just for now, but we'll see if we hold around 15. We're approaching the support right here. I think we might fill this gap down towards about 14.73, which suggests the market may go a little higher. Then we'll see if it bounces or not.